Hi everyone! Have you ever been working with PHP, trying to save some data to a file, and suddenly you hit a roadblock with an error message saying failed to open stream, permission denied when using file_put_contents? It's a super common issue that can be incredibly frustrating, but don't worry, it's usually quite simple to fix once you understand what's going on. This problem means that your PHP script, which is run by your web server, doesn't have the necessary authorization to write to the specific file or folder you're targeting. Your web server operates under a particular user account, like www.data on Ubuntu or Apache on CentOS, and this user needs explicit permission to interact with files on your system. First, let's understand why this happens. Files and folders on a server have a set of permissions that dictate who can read, write, or execute them. These permissions are usually represented by a 3-digit number, like 755 or 644. The first digit controls the owner's permissions, the second is for the group, and the third is for everyone else. When you see permission denied, it almost always means the web server's user account doesn't have the right permission for the destination. The most common solution involves adjusting these file or folder permissions. You can often do this using an FTP client, a hosting control panel like cPanel, or directly via SSH. For folders where your PHP script needs to create or modify files, a common permission setting is 755. This means the owner has full read, write, and execute permissions, while the group and others can only read and execute. For individual files, 644 is typically sufficient, allowing the owner to read and write, and others to just read. Now, you might be tempted to use 777 permissions, which grants full read, write, and execute access to everyone, including your web server user. While 777 will undoubtedly solve the permission denied error instantly, it comes with a massive security risk. Giving everyone full write access means any malicious script or unauthorized user could potentially modify or inject harmful code into your files, compromising your entire website. Therefore, 777 should only be used for temporary debugging in a secure development environment, and you should never use it on a live production server. Always revert to more restrictive permissions like 755 or 644 as soon as you've identified the problem. If you're using SSH, the command to change permissions is chmod. For example, chmod 755/path/to/your/folder would set the permissions for that folder. For a file, it would be chmod 644/path/to/your/file.txt. Sometimes, even with correct permissions, the issue might stem from the file's ownership. If the files or folders are owned by a user different from your web server's user, you might need to change the owner using the chown command, for example, chown www.data/path/to/your/folder, but this is less common for this specific error and usually requires root access. Another less common but possible cause, especially on Linux servers, could be security enhancements like SE-Linux or AppArmor, which can impose additional restrictions beyond standard file permissions. However, starting with file and folder permissions is almost always the correct first step. Remember, the goal is to give your web server just enough permission to do its job, and no more, ensuring your site remains secure. So, when you encounter that dreaded permission denied message, remember to check your folder and file permissions first. Start with 755 for directories and 644 for files, and avoid 777 on production systems at all costs. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around to learn about solving this common PHP error. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more programming tips and tutorials. We'll see you in the next video.